Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain.
Ruhanga. Every Friday evening, we're here having candid conversations with various Ugandans we believe have a block to put on the development of this country. And it is in that regard that I have Miss Alice Alaso, a founding member of the National Alliance for National Transformation, ANT, but also a former member of parliament in this country. We're going to be looking at the roadmap for the elections in 2026. How prepared is the opposition, especially the Alliance for National Transformation, but also as a country, how better and different can these elections be, especially when we are seeing a divided opposition right now, and also when cases of abductions and violence have already started as we speak right now. So you can join this conversation by sending us a message at the Alternative Uganda, that is on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X, but also at Digitalk TV. We are streaming on either platform. You can be able to drop your messages, comments, or anything, and I'll be able to read them subsequently as we continue with the program. And also, you should subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, because when you subscribe, we actually gain more viewership, which enables us to even get better guests for this program. My name is Edgar Matthew Karuhanga, and I'm your host on behalf of Digitalk TV. Miss Alaso, you're most welcome.
Thank you very much, Edgar. Yes. I am truly honored to be at Digitalk and at the Alternative this evening, and good evening, listeners.
Thank you. It's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
You're a very important person in this country. I'll start off with the Alliance for National Transformation.
Yes.
How are you, and how prepared are you, especially for politics in 2026?
Well, at the Alliance for National Transformation, we have an outlook which is long-term but also short-term. The key thing is that we are a registered political party, and we exist to engage in all the political processes that happen now and that will happen later in this country. And so concerning the ongoing processes, we're following a roadmap which we put together some time back, and it has to do with at this level, candidate identification. So we've already sent out our call to our members and asking them to send us their submissions, candidates, aspirants at the lower levels and coming upwards. And I'm happy that already we have feedback. This process is going to continue for us up to 30th June. It might spill over. From experience, it will spill over to July. But we intend that in July, then we'll be able to do what we call harmonization. Okay. We know that party primaries really tear political parties apart. They are so bad, and if they're not well managed, that can be very, very divisive and destructive to the party. So we took a decision that at this level of the party's growth, we are not very old, we are not very strong. So, but at this level, the best we can do is to do harmonization. And it's not the first time we do it. We did it some time back in the 2021 general election. Basically, we set up teams and committees. And those committees meet aspirants at different levels. In the event that a list is presented to us, which list has more than 2 for a particular slot, then we call the 2. We discuss with them. And oftentimes we know that there could be another slot at the same level or even higher or lower, which is not populated. We've not put in a candidate. And so it is helpful for us when we sit with these 2 to tell them what we're looking for is really an opportunity to serve.
Yes.
So can you serve? If you can't be LC5 chairperson, can you serve as LC5 councillor? Can you serve as LC3? So those are the things we'll be doing from the end of June to, July there, really harmonizing. And if more and more continue to coming, then probably up to August. And then we head for nomination in September. So that's our short-term outlook.
Okay.
Of course, we plan that we will field as many candidates as will express interest at all levels, and also up to the presidential level. We're looking at that.
That's a beautiful roadmap. But let's first track back. In 2021, you lost an election. I think you had around 40,000 or more votes there.
69,000.
Yes, 69,000, in fact. When you finished that election, you promised that you're going to go grassroots mobilization and building the structures.
Yes.
How has that been for the last 5 years? Are there fruits that we can see?
Yes, so immediately after that election, you know, remember that election was coming just after registration.
Yes.
I think we got registered in May 20s, no, 2019.
Yeah, 2019,
something
I
like
think,
that,
yes.
yeah. And so 2 years, then we are heading for a general election.
Yes.
And so we were not very prepared. Actually, there were also no structures at that time. And then the party was not even known. At least now many Ugandans have heard about the ANT.
Yes.
And so we immediately said that we will go back there and cause meetings. So we did a whole round of the country, one round, meeting all those who had contested on the ANT ticket, appreciating their challenges, even getting to know why they chose the ANT, because we hadn't met them.
Yes.
And they were very interesting insights. And then also, you know, agreeing with them how best we could manage the subsequent processes. And we finished that, which was very helpful, very informative to the party. Thereafter, the process of going around the country started to sell the party. We needed to tell Ugandans, because most political parties are here in Africa. I was reading some research work by some people, and they're saying that there are very few political parties in the continent that seek to go down to the people and get a buy-in from the communities. All they do is get a buy-in by one big individual in that community against whom the party will rest in that particular district or region or locality. And because of what ANT is, we thought we need another approach. And the approach should be, let's go and meet the community people. Let's tell them what we believe in. Because, we talk about values-based leadership. You need Ugandans to connect values-based leadership to the day-to-day challenges they are facing as a country. You need them to connect it to the future of this country. You need them to know that the only thing that has not been worked upon is developing a group of men and women of integrity and populating electoral spaces and leadership offices with them. Otherwise, routine elections, we do them every 5 years. The only problem is that you get one thief and replace him with another thief. And then you expect that there will be impact? No. So we needed to do that. And indeed, we set out to do that. We've not been able to cover the whole country, and this election is upon us. Basically, not because of time. I think it's largely been because of resource challenges on our part. But we've covered some good number of districts. The rest of the districts, and when we covered those ones, we went up to the sub-county level, and we asked them to bring us people from the parishes. So we've tried to go as close to the community in some districts as possible. So if you find somebody in Tungamo, in the village, who says they support ANT, they know what they support. They are not making assumptions.
What are those values that ANT stands for, that they know they support?
Well, I'm assuming that everybody now knows.
By the way, people do not know.
But
there are many political parties that do not have even values.
Yes.
At least we do not know the values yet.
Yes.
Please.
So one of our core values, in no particular order, is godliness. We believe that Uganda is a godly country. Very religious people, and we back them on that, because both Islam, mainly Islam and Christianity, They teach you about things of love one another, truthfulness, and so on and so forth. Our argument with that core value is, we don't want you to be a good person, doing charity, confessing that you will not steal, when only you're going to the mosque or when only you're going to the church. Then when you come to a government office, you behave differently. I'll tell you my example. When I was chair Public Accounts Committee,
Yes.
we would have witnesses hearing after the Auditor General has presented a report. And I would invite them to tell me how they caused these losses. And ask them, so who are you? Can you take oath? And they would swear. Somebody says Abdallah so and so, they raise the Quran. I'm asking, and Abdallah, and he's accused of theft. Next you have Rose so and so. You are baptized and you are causing losses. How come? So our argument is these people should bring the real values they practice, bring them and employ them in the offices, in public offices. That's godliness.
Yes.
Then there is integrity. Really, the things you do in private, are they the things you can do publicly? If we entrust you with a coin, will you use it for the purpose? Can you commit that that is going to be the value that governs your behavior in public office? Equity, fairness, the things, let me tell you, the things that happen in this country.
Yes.
If we all espoused fairness, just fairness to each other, I don't think this country would be where it is.
Okay.
So fairness, and so on and so forth. I could go on. I think there are about 12 of them. I don't want to.
Thank you. But we now have a picture. I'm still with Miss Alice Alaso, former Member of Parliament and founding member for the Alliance for National Transformation. We are looking at the roadmap for the Alliance for National Transformation, especially come into the 2026 general election. She has painted a picture for us. Miss Alaso, you entering an election, do you think you're going to win this election? Are you taking part to win this election?
Yes. You know, elections are very interesting things. First of all, for you to motivate yourself to be part of it, you should have hope that it is doable and that it can be won. Otherwise, you will not even enter any election. Two, you should have the mindset to know, because if you're not positive about it, the odds in any election in Uganda are so bad, so high. The terrain is so rough that if you don't go there with a positive mindset, you can't even try to navigate it. But three, there are real possibilities. Who said the world is short of miracles? Who said, you know, things cannot happen? You can wake up one morning and find that Ugandans have all of a sudden realized the challenges this country is facing, and they are looking for credible men and women. And I can tell you at ANT, we are not short of those women and men. Women and men who have experience in leadership, men and women who have a good track record, men and women who have managed institutions. We have them at the ANT. So it's possible that we can go out there and Ugandans agree with us when we sell this manifesto to them and they say, this is what we've been looking for. And we
it
will
feels like
win.
you're wishing to do it's more of a wish, because let's look at the last election. In the many constituencies, you did not have even candidates who can even stand in those constituencies for member of parliament. At presidential election, in the 40 million plus Ugandans, you got only 69,000 in an election that was even marred with a lot of violence and such inconsistencies. So when I ask this question, aren't you just outrightly lying to Ugandans that you're going to compete, but rather you're rubber stamping an electoral process?
No. You see, you cannot mobilize all your time, even risk your life to peddle a lie. You cannot do that. You can only market hope. Uganda is in such a state that the level of hopelessness and despair we could write of this nation. If this nation were a company, we would close it. We would close it. because it's so badly managed that you can hardly have hope. But we are here telling Ugandans, this beautiful country can be reset and it can start again. And here is the formula. We are part of the formula. Ugandans are part of the formula. The ideas we have are part of the formula. If we get a buy-in, there is nothing that stops us from resetting this nation. And so we are going out there like everybody with a product. You go to the market with a product. You're not selling air. You actually carry your product and say, this is my product. And I begin to convince them, and see, if they buy in, I will be the winner. So it's not that bad. It's not that empty. There is a reason why we are doing it. There is a reason. There's a country to protect. Actually, not to protect. There is a country to rescue. And we have what it takes to rescue this country.
The people you are rescuing the country from, it looks like they are a majority. It looks like they are loved in the entire nation. The president, for example, the National Readiness Movement has brought over 300 members of parliament in the previous election. It has been the same in the previous election. So the man that you are rescuing, or the people you're rescuing from a bad system, it feels like they are comfortable with the system for the last 40 years.
I am not very sure Ugandans are comfortable. You see, when you're dealing with this kind of situation, you need to appraise the factors around it. And there are things you will have to remove. Then you let the president stand alone and let the NRM stand alone, and we see if we will get the same result. So you need to, first of all, if you could withdraw the military, and say, okay, military, stay aside. No beating, no harassing, nothing. No military. Will we get the same result? No bribery. Let's remove the taxpayers' money, which you dish around. No intimidation, no threatening. Let's get that. I can tell you, I am very convinced, and many Ugandans do. The people that you seem to see that they really are falling all over for the love of President Museveni and his group are simply doing survival. I'm telling you, the NRM without Museveni cannot stand for 2 days. The NRM without taxpayers' money cannot stand.
One would say that's the kind of politics we have. Even in the opposition, can you say National Unity Platform will thrive without Kyagulanyi at the helm?
I don't know the institutional arrangements they have.
I'm saying maybe it's just a culture, it's our politics. That's how it is. It's a politics of, Bide calls it gladiatorial politics of individuals who come off like gladiators. So without those individuals, the parties seem to be irrelevant also.
No, I'm not even thinking about a personality at this level where I'm discussing President Museveni's role. It's no longer about the personality. It is about the patronage network that he runs to keep the NRM going. And they know for sure that the day they will run a free and a fair election in this country, the results will be something different. So whether it is about, at the NUP, whether it is about the charisma of Honorable Kyagulanyi or not, that's another matter. But I'm looking at the institutional network. That's why you see in the NRM, it is just a merger with the state apparatus. They claim to be running a political party which is completely serviced and completely merged with the state apparatus. I mean, what were those soldiers doing in Kawempe? Does the NRM have an army? No. It is purporting to be a political party which is backed by the UPDF. So they link the UPDF. If the UPDF were doing their own role as per mandate, they wouldn't be there. And that teaches us a few things. There are constituencies in this country that have come through despite the use of coercive instruments by the NRM. So there is hope. Secondly, Ugandans are really tired. You see these Ugandans like this. I think we've reached a point where the ones that are eating will keep thinking they want to eat. And that's the reason they are there. But then there is a category that has become so disparate. Life has become extremely, extremely hard for them. And they keep hoping for change. And those are the ones that are enduring and still, voting against the system, even when they think the army will come and beat them.
But there are many who don't even come to vote. I don't know if you've realized that.
That is
many people have started to shy away from the electoral process. They feel like we already know what is going to happen.
Yeah, and that group has to come back to that. It has to engage again. Because if they don't engage, these other ones will decide for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me come to, there are many divisions in the opposition. You all have the same, one would say, problem, but you are divided into different denominations, NUP, ANT, FDC, UPC, yet you all have a common vision. As you gear up in this election, don't you think this division is affecting your impact, especially the general election?
I wish that the divisions that we have were in terms of strategy. That would still be helpful, because every household, for lack of a better word, every political institution would then be having their own strategy, and that would be acceptable. I am a farmer. I just basic farming. We do digging. So you have a garden here. Our garden is to clean up Uganda. And if some people can begin on the other corner with a tractor, we are happy. And then there could be a group that is beginning with a hoe here. We are happy. And then there is a group that will begin with slashers there. If we could maintain the key objective of cleaning up this country called Uganda and recovering our country from the clutches of the NRM and President Museveni, I would have no problem. The challenge, though, is that as each one of us does their work, and of course this is not surprising, the ones that are slashing, the NRM is infiltrating and dividing even the group that is slashing. Then they go for the ones of the tractor, they divide even those ones. And that is weakening us. I keep hoping that if each of the political parties in the opposition strengthened their institution, I think the aggregate strength would be good. It would be helpful. So if NUP came as a united NUP, DP came as a united DP, but there's a half a DP with the NRM, then there is a half a DP with the DP, then there is a half a UPC here, and then there is a... So that is the main problem. The problem is not that we exist as different units. The problem is that even in those small units, we are getting dismembered, and that is not helpful. Why isn't it helpful? Of course, my outlook for the future would be that if we could sit individually, we bring our strength and also areas where we are strong. And then the different political parties go there and support each other. Say, okay, you're strong in Buganda. We will not be fielding in Buganda. Let's agree that in Buganda, our small princess backs you as the major group.
Yes.
Then we go to Western and they go to Eastern and do the same.
Yeah.
I believe that we would be able to get a reasonable output, members of parliament, good number of them. And then, Ugandans want us to offer one presidential candidate at the start. Sometimes it may not even work. That is the ideal. If we could borrow from the neighbors in Kenya, that is the ideal. And be able to swallow our individual egos and say, okay, me, I'm not you, and so.
Ms. Alaso, one would say, why don't you reach out? Because you are senior politicians in this country. Why don't you reach out to other political parties to start that particular conversation? Because as the Bible says that it's the hearts of the fathers that turns to the sons. So in this scenario, Kyagulanyi is more of a son. They've just entered the politics. Ms. Alaso and General Muntu are fathers. Why don't you reach out to start the conversation? Because you said it beautifully.
Already the good thing as you perhaps follow closely, the dynamics here. The Alliance for National Transformation is, I think, the only party, any other political party in Uganda except the NRM can comfortably sit with and chat. For us, we are okay. When NUP comes, we can sit with them.
They actually supported you in the by-election that you participated in. Yes.
And we've
So
also supported
this thing can
them.
work.
Yes, even in Kawempe, we were
Exactly.
with them.
So
And the PFF, we can comfortably talk with them. There are individuals in the Democratic Party and in the UPC, we are comfortable talking to them. So we have deliberately created, even by our own name, the Alliance. Yes, we've deliberately built rapport, and we are having an outlook. We are looking into the future and saying, should the need arise for us to have this kind of engagement, let nobody find it strange that they are sitting on the table for the first time with us. Now, that is one thing we are doing, and we hope that that can work. But there are also scenarios which we hope can be exploited by the political parties in Uganda, those in the opposition. Even if they decide all to go for the first run, let them go in such a way that they are very strong. Each one of them strong enough to raise a good number of votes. If we raise more than 69,000, let NUP raise more, let whoever raise more, and we all deny, just enough to deny the 50+1%, because that will be a rerun. That rerun has the capacity to force us round this table.
of course, then you have to unite.
Yes, now we will say, but really, Ugandans have said that, you see, all of you put together, you have 52 or 50 plus 9% or something. That will force us to talk.
But that's the ideal. It has never happened in this country, so there is no even precedent to look at it. That's the ideal that could happen. But in the past, we have seen in the past 7 elections, this gentleman has always got the 51 plus that 1%, Mr. Museveni. So, aren't we just saying, as the thing I told you, aren't we wishing it to be? Rather than the real, let's be real today.
It is work to do. It is work to do. I've already demonstrated to you that we are favorably predisposed to this. We are happy to work with other political parties. We've showed them that it is workable.
Okay.
Yeah. And I believe that the next few months, maybe there will be conversations along this, because we also hear Ugandans. We hear many Ugandans.
Because Ugandans are actually united down here, but you the leaders. But the question is, do we even need these political parties? People are forming PFF, it's now coming. I saw the People Power movement also having a new political party around there, People Power. Do we need political parties today, especially when you are in an election cycle where you say a gentleman has been rigging this election for a couple of times in the past? Do we still need new political parties, especially in such a dispensation of politics?
You see, registering a political party is within the rights of any group that wants to associate. So we can't take it away from them. But what we can require, what we can desire that the political parties do would be that, one, they are authentic. Because there are so many that are called briefcase political parties. There are also others that are said to be sponsored by the establishment. I recall that in the 2005 referendum, the big political parties, the Democratic Party and the Uganda People's Congress, that had agitated so much for the return to multi-party democracy in Uganda. They had been to court, they had paid with their lives, they had been imprisoned, everything had been done to them. And so when finally the people in power said, now let's hold a referendum to check if Ugandans want to return to political pluralism, the DP and the UPC said, that's not the way to go. Just declare this thing. We've been at it and you are under pressure. And indeed they were under pressure from the international community as well. And So they stayed away. There was no other political party. Do you know what government did? The NRM created an action party to contest with them, to legitimize, is that a word?
Yes,
legitimize the process.
Yes.
So let nobody be under the illusion that if they don't participate, the NRM will be too embarrassed. They have all these briefcase parties. They also can create another
But you can win,
party.
but how legitimate would it be? Like, for example, as we are
But who
celebrating...
cares about legitimacy in this country?
As we are celebrating World Press Freedom Day, the journalists were saying we are going to unite and not cover the 2026 election if nothing is changed. And the Electoral Commission spokesperson was like, okay, even if you don't cover the election, we'll continue. But we say, yes, even if a game, when you have 7 players in a stadium, a match can go on. But if you verse 7 members and you're 11, there is a call for legitimacy. One would say, you won't be legitimate at the end of the day.
Yes, but at the end of the day, they will be there. That's the problem. You see, there was a time political parties, I think it was UPC that called for a boycott, I think, at some point. And a few individuals like the late Cecilia Ogwal and others, participated, literally disobeyed the party. But they are the only ones who kept the face of the party alive. And the party came back and rebuilt on it. These guys have lost all sense of shame. So it is not that you're going to embarrass them by denying them legitimacy. Because legitimacy is all about denying them the covering, and then they begin to feel embarrassed. No, they will not. They have no sense of shame. That's why they steal money. They steal money and they face cameras. And they simply say, you know, that 100 million was given by the president. And the president says, yes, I gave. And he's not embarrassed that it was not appropriated for that purpose. Appropriation is the legitimate process. But then the president will say, I gave. And then Ugandans say, yeah, the president has the right to give. As what? Did he pick it? Did he sell cows from Rwakitura, from Kisosi? No, he didn't. So these fellows have no sense of shame. They can't get embarrassed. They will keep allocating Ugandan money to a non-existent hospital. If they were looking for legitimacy, they would do all that the right way. But they are not. So let's forget about legitimacy. Let us see what each of these groups can contribute. And for me, if they are authentic, that's my rider in this. They are authentic, let them come in. 2, if they can build their individual strength, that will help us. Because then we know, see, if you are skinning a cow, and somebody can cut off a hoof, another one cuts off the ear, we can start from there.
You bring the same example Meda Luwegasegona gave me, that Tuluanisa in Uganda. So everybody, if you're holding the horns, hold. If I'm holding the feet, we shall fight this.
Yeah.
But as you're gearing up for this election, Dr. Kizza Besigye is incarcerated, in prison.
Yeah.
We're seeing Edward Sewufu, who is the bodyguard for Robert Kyagulanyi, tortured, incarcerated. But you are gearing up for an election. Doesn't this scare you, or how prepared are you, especially for such a turmoil?
Well, it is our wish that this would not be happening. It is our wish. We've aired it, we've said it, we've visited, we've been in court, we've backed up all the processes to ensure that Dr. Besigye, Haji Lutale, and others should really receive their freedom and be part of this engagement. And not only that, for their individual well-being. But these people don't want to release them. And we know that one of the things they hope to do is to spread fear. That if you continue talking about democracy and governance in this country, if you continue standing firm in the quest for political freedoms, you could end up like Dr. Besigye, like Eddie Mutue, like so many abducted people. And so the onus is on us to stand firm. One of the, I think, recent examples, which is instructive, I think should have been in Senegal, where they locked up
it was Sonko, Senegal,
yes,
the opposition candidate.
Yeah, they locked him up.
Sonko.
Yes. And he told his people, just go and back up that young man. When he gets to power, because you are the ones to vote for him, once you vote for him, he'll get me out of this mess. And they're in charge.
It's what happened, right?
Yes, and that's what happened. So we know, and we hope that by the time of elections, Doctor and many others will be out. We'll keep pushing, pumping pressure, highlighting the need for them to be out. But if they are not, it would be very dangerous on our part to abandon the struggle for which they are in. Yeah. So we refuse to be intimidated. And we hope that Ugandans will not be intimidated. Let Ugandans stand firm and continue to fight for their freedoms.
Okay, Ms. Alaso. Will you say that this time round you have been, for example, there have been political, or there has been rigging, because that's normally what you say as the opposition. Because why I'm saying that, why I'm saying it is because most, if not all of the political parties, especially in the opposition, are divided. The UPC is divided. The Forum for Democratic Change is divided. The National Unity Platform is divided. ANT, at least you can say, there is no evidence to show that they are divided.
We are still holding together.
Yes.
They would want to find us, but we are holding.
Will you say that Mr. Museveni has actually rigged the election, especially when we see all these divisions that are happening prior to the election itself?
Those divisions plus a lot more machinations are all an attempt to rig the election. Yeah, but as I said, it would be unhelpful if political parties gave up on this country. Because what other option do we have? It's only political parties that are registered to take power. It's only political parties who can sit on the table, not civil society, not NGOs, not churches, not anybody. It is only in the event that there is even need for a change today, unless we get a military coup running. But without a military coup, it's only political parties. And that's why we should encourage our political parties. So
even in their disabled state, even in their divisions, they have
they are the vehicle you need. They are the only vehicle that can take you out of this mess. There is no other. I don't know any other in the laws of Uganda. I don't know any.
It's only a free and a fair election.
Yeah, so first, let's have the political parties. Let's encourage them to work within their power to create some strength. And then thirdly, let's the political parties go in there. And Ugandans, I think the other thing is for really Ugandans to pay attention and realize that if they don't back the political parties, and they want change, they have no other means.
Okay.
Yeah.
As we come to the end of this conversation, you as an individual, what's your plan for 2026?
Oh, well, 2026, I'm a very political animal. That is one. So I spend my time towards 2026, first of all, helping the ANT candidates, because I must have them participate. I'll be core to their engagement in this process. And then I will go to Serere and offer myself, for re-election. And I believe that the people...
As woman member of parliament for Serere district?
Yes, most likely woman, but there's also a constituency. I'll read the dynamics.
I was going to even ask you about that, saying that wouldn't you leave that position, the affirmative position, for these young girls who are coming? Yeah. At this time, don't you think you're politically strong enough to compete? No,
it is not about strength. The last 2023 by-election, I contested in the county.
Exactly.
I contested in the county. And those of you who happened to go to Serere, the entire press was ordered back into the tally center, and we fought the army physically, like Konyi, like anything. So it's not about lack of strength or inability to express myself. No, it's really about where can I slot in myself now, because I have to read the dynamics in the constituency. Constituency is a very small thing, and it is good Then also looking at where is space, where is the possibility of getting elected. Now me, I'm looking for only a platform. I'm not even looking for affirmative action.
Okay.
I want to talk about young girls. They are young girls, but also sometimes the discussion on affirmative action denies us the merits. It's not just a question of having one extra woman in parliament if they are not. I mean, it goes back to what I've just said about ANT. I was replaced by a woman whose names people even don't know. She's been in parliament all these years. Yes, she's been there all these years, and people don't even know what submission she's ever made in that house. So does affirmative action benefit from such? No. Affirmative action should also give us an opportunity to really make impact on some of those spaces.
Okay. Lastly, I cannot live without asking you about Mwanafunzi Kainerugaba, the CDF, who's always talking about political issues, especially on his X platform. What do you think about this person, the person of Mwanafunzi Kainerugaba, and generally how he has been doing his job as the CDF of this country?
Maybe I'll try to even avoid the person, but just tell Ugandans the state has been captured. Tell Ugandans this is family rule. That is what happens. Because there is no way that would be happening if we still had a functional state where the UPDF, the nomenclature behind that name, was to subject it to the people of Uganda, and that its role would be to defend Ugandans. And you hear that at the head of the UPDF are now people who are committing torture, crimes against humanity, locking up people, mistreating Ugandans. It's unthinkable, but it can only happen because the state has been captured. Nobody can talk to President Museveni about the behavior of his son. They are all terrified. And the son knows, maybe even his father, his aging father, can no longer call him to order. Or the family has agreed, this is how we will treat these Ugandans. And that is it. So I don't know the personality, I don't know the character, but I just know the family has agreed that that is the kind of treatment they will give Ugandans.
What does that speak of the Ugandans who have been treated like that but seem to be just quiet?
Because they are helpless. They are helpless. These are people with our money. These are people with our guns. These are people with the authority we have given to them. So basically, they are helpless. And people live under fear. And Ugandans must try to do everything within their power to come out of fear and have the courage to speak again. Because how can this be happening? How can it be happening? This is worse. I was a child and people blamed Idi Amin for everything they can blame. But let me tell you, during the days of Idi Amin, we didn't have this amount of theft in this country. This state was not stealing from us. The things we see now, abductions, kidnaps, electoral rigging. Amin told us he was not going into these things of elections. He was life president, period. And we understood. We understood as Ugandans that he was a life president. And we were not stressing ourselves to remove him. Those who wanted to remove him then had to go and look for the right way of removing him. Here are masqueraders telling us that they are Democrats when they are not. There is nothing democratic. Here are masqueraders saying, oh, and yet they are thieves. They are robbing the nation day and night. Here are people who are committing the worst atrocities against Ugandans. And then they are claiming that they came to defend. Is it human rights? Those things of theirs, I hate reading them. Is it what? Some point program?
10-point program.
Fake. Evil. Wicked people in charge of the system, in charge of the country. Yes. And so, now they boast about who they have killed. they boast about injecting Eddie Mutwe. And for me, let me just say something.
Please do.
To the CDF of this country and to President Museveni, that what is happening in Uganda, you are endangering people. Now you're going to come for me because I'm saying you're endangering the Banyankole. You tweet in Runyankole, my children, my grandchildren are Banyankole. And people are beginning to say, the day we will come for Banyankole, you are causing problems for my grandchildren.
Thank you so much. Miss Alice Alaso, it was a privilege having you on the show this evening. Thank you so much. I'm humbled. I learn a lot from you, and I think many Ugandans out there, and especially the girls, can paint a picture from you for what a better future can look like. Thank you so much for inspiring me.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. We'll see you again. Thank you so much to our viewer. Thank you for tuning in from the time we started up to now. If you've sent those messages and comments, thank you so much. Continue sharing this feed to as many people as you can. We are the Alternative Uganda, but also at Digitalk TV. That is on YouTube, Facebook, and X. My name is Edgar Matthew Karohanga. We shall see you again, same time, same station. This is Digitalk TV. We shall see you again. Bye-bye.
Private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.